December the 30th, 2021.
Almost.
Interviewing David Wegener from Christchurch.
Again.
Bit of a chess player, Dave.
Are you?
You are. And so tonight,
That's all we are.
I've decided to pick the subject of philosophy. I'd like some philosophical insights from you into life, the meaning of life, and it doesn't have to equal 42.
I know what you're talking about. Douglas Adams.
Okay.
And a Babel fish and a Vogon constructor fleet.
Indeed.
That we have to march through the planet Earth to build a bypass.
Indeed.
Come on, mankind.
Indeed.
The plans have always been there all this time.
So
the plans have always been there.
Because we're not
at the bottom of a lavatory, underneath beware of the leopard.
Because we've agreed that the ground rules are not to mention any names in this interview, we're going to need code names for like Austin Healey and Morris Minor, aren't we?
Austin Minor.
Austin.
Yeah. We're talking about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Indeed.
I didn't know that.
Is it as poignant? Is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as poignant?
Zaphod Beetlebox.
Is it as poignant now as it was 20 years ago, Dave?
Pardon?
Is it as poignant now as it was 20 years ago?
Oh.
More poignant, more significant, more dramatic.
No, everything's taken over by the indescribable word that we cannot mention of 1920. No, 2020 and 2021 and 2019. That formidable opponent of mankind, the philosophy of the dramatic downfall of mankind, COVID. But I can't mention that. I'm not allowed to mention the word COVID because my channel will be ripped up in 2 seconds by a vulgar.
No, it won't.
Have you taken out insurance indemnity before conducting this interview, Dave?
No, but I had to just before I had my ears cleaned out.
Tell me about that, Dave. That sounds like a very dramatic episode in your life.
My doctor told me to go and get my ears cleaned out because there was a little bit of build-up of the obvious matter.
Just a little
there, and I thought he was just having me on. She. I'm not quite sure whether they got anything out of my ears or maybe they just put the suction thing in front of the earlobe and just made it out as if they were sucking on the inside of
Now tell me, you know the story about...
I had to sign a waiver form.
That's incredible.
I went, what? I thought this was meant to be safe. And I've got to sign a big waiver form. And I go, what the heck's this all about? What's going on here?
Now tell me, Dave.
And it's just gone mad.
When Sweeney Todd set up his barber shop,
I know,
he had next door to him a pie shop.
Yeah.
Do the audiology people, do they have like a candle store next door? But
they're just got a petrol station next door.
They sell the wax to a candle store, or do they
I came all the way to this part of the country to go and get my ears cleaned by that particular company. And then I had to read that. So like, hello, how are you? You're all right? Or, yeah, everything's all good, blah, blah, blah. Everything's simple and silent and everything. No problem. And all of a sudden I have to read this. Oh, by the way, we can burst your eardrum.
True story.
We can cause deafness. We can give you lots of ear infections for the rest of your life and all this sort of stuff. That's really, really, and cause tinnitus.
Would there have been enough wax to maybe get enough candles for like a 21st birthday party?
No, not sure.
Not enough for a not enough.
No.
Did you
I wanted to see how much was there, but she said I vacuumed it all up in my vacuum machine.
So they're selling your I don't even know. They're selling your body wax to some cosmetics company.
Yeah, probably some
Revlon are probably buying it.
Probably someplace, and well done to the 17-year-old boy who beat Magnus in the rapid for world championships. But apparently, purportedly, there's some sort of talk about that someone's not very happy. I'll just use the code word letters MC I don't know who that could stand for, but if we put WC in front of it, we might know who we're talking about. But WCMC has been a bit disappointed by being beaten by a young kid, from a place that you'd be able to pronounce, but I still can't pronounce it.
And so this
That's
unmentionable from the Scandinavian frozen wastes of the subpolar region.
Yeah.
He's a quite a warrior, isn't he? He's a Viking. Would you say he's a Viking?
What the unmentionable name that I'm not allowed to mention?
Indeed.
And
Do you think he's a Viking of the chess world?
yes.
Like an Attila the Hun, or a? He goes in with a battle axe.
And sticking to the subject of philosophy or history or something like that, who actually invaded England first is a question for you. Rome, Vikings, or Anglo-Saxons? Who actually invaded?
The first invasion of
England soil
would have probably been by the salamanders.
The worms.
The salamanders.
The worms.
The worms.
The salamanders. No, it was the Romans.
The Romans.
The Romans were first.
The Romans were there long before the Vikings.
Yeah.
The
Vikings were still there.
The Vikings.
But they were just probably quiet.
The Vikings attacked the Yorkshire coast in 1400s, and the Yorkshiremen have got a reputation for not taking a step backwards, and they beat off the Vikings, burnt their ships, and slaughtered them on the beaches. That was a very serious attack on the Yorkshire coast, and then the Normans were there in 1066 when William the Conqueror arrived, and obviously Julius Caesar arrived there in about 40 BC.
Yeah, around about then. Somewhere around just before B. You're not allowed to say BC anymore. It's changed, by the way, philosophically, and all that sort of stuff. It's changed from BC to something else now.
Is it possible, Dave, that Stonehenge was actually the first chessboard?
No.
Not possible?
No, it wasn't. No.
It looks like a. It looks
wasn't
like
the first chessboard. It was one of them. You did the laughing for me. I didn't have to do any laughing because you were laughing with. That's the Joker laugh. Anyway,
so getting back,
have you heard the Joker laugh?
I have indeed.
The movie Joker.
Oh, Joker, you with?
And I watched Lansky too, but I watched Joker. I've watched Joker about 8 times now. And I don't know if it's the actual real Joker's laugh, but I'm doing pretty well with it, I think.
Well,
it's probably my best impersonation of 2020.
Well, I'd like you to do an impersonation of Bugsy Malone.
I don't know who
the gangster.
No, I don't know.
Or Alphonse Capone.
No,
give me a.
Can't do it.
Give me a gangster impersonation.
That's not the bad guy. That's the Al Pacino.
That's it, baby.
That's the Al Pacino, but I don't know.
Gonna make an offer you can't refuse.
Everyone, shop closed. Sorry, shop closed.
Give me your
Tony. Hey, Tony. The shop closed. Tony, your shop closed is what we're saying.
Give me an impersonation of a man in a fish and chip shop ordering some fish and chips tonight from the Great Wall.
The Great Wall?
Yeah.
The Great Wall of China?
You walk into the Great Wall and you order some fish and chips.
Oh, where's that?
It's down in Princess Street. I'll be.
Where's Princess Street?
Here in
They got princes here.
Here in Unmentionable.
Are they?
You walk into the fish. What are you going to order tonight? What would you order tonight at the Great Wall?
You give me 4 fish and scuba chips. Okay?
You mimicking my accent. Hey.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, $4.
Hey, I want some Italiano.
Fish chip, $4.
Yeah, so anyway.
Fish chip, $4.
Anyway, what else?
Okay, so
let's say
let's say that you were included in the moon mission in the joint Soviet-American moon rocket mission next year. You were accepted to be the first New Zealander to go into space.
You've asked me that question before.
I know, but I didn't get a definitive answer last time because you were half sozzled. But now that you're semi-sober, what would your training program be if you were selected to go into space next year? Would you cut out the chocolate biscuits and the wine, or would you?
I haven't drunk wine.
Would you double the intake? A chocolate biscuit's good for astronauts.
There's a lot of stuff that they have to do, astronauts, to go into space.
Is this just too heavy? Is this just too deep, man? This is just too deep.
They have to go into the chamber, don't they?
Into the
lock chamber, and suffer from the bends, don't they?
They have to overcome the effects of weightlessness, gravity, deprivation, sleep deprivation.
You know, well, you must have studied to. Have you studied to get into it, and you tried to get into it, but it's your lifetime?
I'd love to get
achievement, not.
I'd love to get into it, mate, but unfortunately.
So, what do you think about the SAS? Anyway, being a soldier yourself,
I think.
What do you think about the SAS, especially the celebrity ones? I mean, like, I loved that program this year. I watched that.
Well, what you don't actually realise is a lot of those guys who are running the SAS program, they're actually wacko psychos. To get into the SAS, you've got to be completely whacked. So some of the guys that are rejected are wackos. The guys who are actually real committed soldiers, they're highly disciplined, highly trained. But realistically, you can only probably be in the SAS and function at a high degree of efficiency, maybe 5 to 10 years out, because the stress, the tension, and the decision making and the danger is such that realistically, probably 10 years is the limit. But I've seen some of those programs, the guys who are taking the SAS Celebrity Challenge, a lot of them have got brain damage. They're wackos. And they might not appreciate this, me saying this on TV, and that's why I'm on the side of the camera. And because we're filming this from Kyrgyzstan, they'll never know that I'm sitting here in Kyrgyzstan, and my name is Samuel Dobritsky.
And you're their enemy anyway, so
but they put those people through some real drama, and realistically, even if they are psycho wackos, maybe I'm jealous, but those guys have got courage that I don't have. And how do you get that courage? You can't buy it. You can't buy that courage. You either got it or you don't. I don't have it.
They build on things that, from what I can tell, just from a lay person, obviously, they build on things to encourage people to go further than they are comfortable with, just like anything with anything like running or anything. You've just got to go past
abseiling, jumping from high places,
being told what to do,
doing things at night. Getting roused up at 2 o'clock in the morning and getting pushed. That's pretty hard going, and that's actually just as mentally demanding for the people and doing the challenge as it is for people taking the challenge. Because when you're putting through an inexperienced person through such a dangerous mission,
and the cameraman,
you could kill that person. There's a hell of a danger and hell of a responsibility involved.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't know if they've actually killed anyone, but
there's been problems, and there have been problems in England. That they've had issues in England running that program, and so they've come. I think, from what I understand, because someone I know is quite interested in it in a big way. They started off in 1941. The SAS,
Special Forces.
Yeah, Special Air Services.
Yeah, Special Air Services.
And what happened was it was a desk like this, and the understudy in the army dropped it off in the sergeant major's desk or something to that effect. This idea of having specialised force, which even the queens and that took off from their European countries and all that sort of thing in World War II, might have gone to Canada or to England or something. They were actually very instrumental in procedures or in warlike matters, even though they were off the soil of their own country. They were quite instrumental in making sure that there was lots of money being spent on defences and the underground and resistance operations and all that sort of thing. So, which I wasn't aware of up until quite late like in the last couple of years, I've only realised that. And when my father was young, when I was young and my father was young, I was thinking, what did you do in the war, Dad? And I never actually asked him. I don't think I actually got an answer anyway. But he's too young to be in the war. He was only about 13 years old when the war broke out. So it's not like he's going to go off into army in the foreseeable future. And like Holland resigned after 2 weeks, 13 days of
13 days of wow, it was in their best interest too. I mean, they were going to get annihilated in
Rotterdam, but they still did.
They bombed Rotterdam.
Still got bombed in Rotterdam. So I mean, like that's war, but I mean, like there's a code of ethics.
But the Germans didn't the Germans could have actually approached the Dutch with it on an offer of being allies rather than attack them, couldn't they? I mean, they were.
They had in World War One. It had worked then, but it wasn't going to be the case for World War Two. And I think there was a thought that from the Queen, Juliana, or is it Queen Beatrice or Juliana? One of them, and I think, and the Queen thought that was going to be the case, but Hitler had different ideas, and like they even approached the Dutch border on May 10, 1940, a Friday. Early in the morning, they approached the border dressed in Dutch uniforms, the Germans, and it fooled the Dutch. I mean, like, it's war, isn't it? So
all's fair in love and war.
But yeah, I mean, to a point, but it's a bit hard if you think, do I shoot that person, or like, is that person from that camp or from that camp? It's like a bit, it's a wee bit sort of like dodgy, isn't it?
Would you like to go home to Holland one day and go for a visit?
Oh yeah, but now COVID's stopped that idea at the moment.
Whereabouts your family from in Holland, though?
Amsterdam and The Hague.
The Hague.
Den Haag. Now, a question on tipping point is where is the judicial system, in what town or city is the judicial system in Holland?
For the International Court?
Yeah, the International Court.
The Hague.
And that's, it's Den Haag. And one answer from one of the contestants was Belgium, and the other one was it? One said something like Georgia or something, or Minneapolis or whatever.
The Hague.
But one was plenum. Not plenum, but one was the first one was what did I say just then? Belgium, which is probably fair enough because it's almost it's for an English person to answer that.
Well, yeah, they think that they've confused the Belgium sausage with the Dutch cheese, which brings us back.
We were going on about the cheese with our shivers. Why would I do that?
So what we want
must be your fault. Chocolate biscuits, or the chocolate drink, or the beer.
We want to know why
maybe the sausages.
The Dutch are so keen on dairy products. Did they invent the chocolate? Did they invent the cow?
No, but you got a lot of Frisians, haven't you? Frisian cows.
So
the black and the white.
So when
Frisians.
When the Dutch police corner a suspect with a gun, they go Frisian.
Like Germany is really, really into their breads and their bakeries.
Of course,
they have so many varieties of different breads that you can buy.
I've met German people and French people who said you cannot buy decent bread or cheese in this country.
Oh, okay.
They said the stuff you sell here is just absolute crap, and you come to Germany and get specialty rye breads and broth and cheeses.
And you get a selection of hundreds hundreds
And
of
cheese was
breeds.
taste and bite.
Yeah.
And we've got bland. I bought some Edam cheese the other day, and it's I ate some last night, and it was like eating sort of like a concocted glue. And
Yeah.
after I had a bit of indigestion.
Changed a bit.
I had a bit of indigestion.
And that's the Dutch cheese anyway, Edam.
Edam, but we have very basic, vulgar, manufacturing methodologies for cheese and breads and what have you. And because we're a colonial country, we're pretty happy with that. But the tourists that come here, Dutch, the Germans, the French, they're not happy. They like to see something that's a gourmet, a delicatessen, and realistically, the Dutch have got a reputation for chocolates, dairy products, fine cows,
Salamis and small
and
goods.
also tulips. In fact, quite a few years ago, there was a tulip. There was a tulip pyramid scheme that basically in Holland in the 1500s, people were trading houses and their wives for a single black tulip. And when it crashed, the whole economy crashed. But why did
You could buy a whole house with a bag of spices.
why there was a
back then,
fascination with the
long time
tulips at the time? Why was there such a fascination with the tulips that brought about a huge financial collapse? And it doesn't actually not logical or rational, is it?
ago. Oh, pass.
You don't know?
Pass.
Because I talked to Orky Sharda and he said during World War
Oh, you
II,
mentioned the name again. You're not meant to do
during
that.
World War II, when they
Mr. Polyevsky.
when they ran out of food, his father went to the greenhouse and came back and made them some soup.
Yeah.
And he drank it and he said, "That's bloody horrible." He said, "What is it?" He said, "It's tulips." He said, "That's all we've got to eat tonight, tulip soup." And they drank it because it's an onion.
Yeah, well, I
Silica-like.
mean, like, if you got plant bulbs and that sort of thing out in the crops, and you got nothing to eat, I mean, you make the most of what you got. And so, in Holland, they did eat tulip bulbs and that sort of thing to get some food, but they also caught a lot of. They would go harvesting rabbits, and they'd find rabbits around the place. And someone I know doesn't like that idea, but that's what they would do. They'd eat lots of rabbits, and there was one Dutch person I met, a bit older than me, of course, and there are some, and this chap that narrows it down a wee bit because there's not many men older than me, but anyway, company aside. But the thing is, I'm sorry. He said to me something really odd. I found it rather double Dutch, really. He said to me he was about 7 or 8 years old when the war broke out, and he said it's fantastic. It was like it's a great playground out there because there were all sorts of things I could get. Like I could get a grenade, I could find a gun, I could find bullets, I could find pieces of tank and everything. And I said, "Oh, that sounds really cool." "No, it wasn't," he said. "No, it wasn't cool." That's like odd for me because I can't quite understand whether he enjoyed it or whether he didn't, or whether he was just being Dutch and being double Dutch, saying two things at the same time which were completely opposites of each other, So it's quite frustrating to be brought up by Dutch parents and to not know whether or not I've done something wrong or something
Tell me,
good.
Dave, the Dutch are really good at a lot of sports, particularly football. And it's actually been described to me by a professor of anatomy that the Dutch physique is one of the largest.
Not the same professor we were talking about before.
No, another one.
A music one.
Who said that the
Anatomy's cool.
the anatomy of the Dutch man is actually larger than any other race on the planet, man for man, because they're bigger, they're more muscular, they've got a bigger bone density.
It's funny that you should say that because I've just because I'm here, and my father's got pictures on the wall from the I think the 1600s, the merchants from Holland and all that sort of thing, when they went to Protestants, when they became Protestants and they broke away from the Catholic Church. Nothing to say wrong about the Catholic Church, but the Dutch, with the Reformation and all that, pulled away from the Catholic Church. So the paintings and all that sort of thing, the artists from Holland, there's obviously a lot of Dutch artists that are really good, like Van Gogh or Van Gogh, depends who is saying it, I suppose, and is it correct, Rembrandt, I think, and that's the thing. But they were being commissioned already to paint paintings of the popes and the bishops and the cardinals and all that sort of thing. All of a sudden they lost their clientele base back then, so they had to start painting pictures of the merchants. But I was looking at, getting back to what the professor of anatomy said, I was looking at these merchants and I think, shows, I just look like my face bone structure looks exactly the same as those guys. I was thinking, like very much looking Dutch to me, or maybe that's just something I can't get away from.
The war trekkers.
The working.
The war trekkers that went to South Africa were of German Dutch extraction.
Yeah.
And when I was in South Africa,
and the British went.
These men are really big. I mean, they're very big, physically very big.
Yeah.
Physically very big.
Oh yeah, the Germans.
And world judo champions, rugby champions, boxing.
Rugby.
Springboks.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't do very well comparative to. Is it still working?
It's still working out. I'd like you to give a definitive signing off statement for 2021 as we head into 2022 and sum up the year in question, without mentioning an unmentionable virus, because that's just holding the headlines this year. What's been the most significant thing in your life this year that's really, really pushed you along and motivated you?
I always believe in people over and above, and as a Christian I believe in certain things, and I had a lot of I'm still talking about the COVID thing because it's the sort of elephant in the room, but I believe in people generally at the end of the day. What do I think about? I think that I'm just a mere mortal.
Okay.
I really do. I think of myself as a mere mortal, which is what I am, because so for 2021 I saw it go quite quickly, but it still, the seconds of the clock still go the same as they did when I was 10 years old, 75 years ago. So you alright?
Yep.
And so the thing, I'm not meant to say that because I'm not meant to cure in on anything that you're doing behind the scenes of the camera where you're hiding. 2021 was kind of, for me, like, for myself, it was like one of the years after our earthquakes in Christchurch. It was like very quick. We were just almost kind of living to survive, or just waiting till whenever happens, and it's not really. There's no sight at the moment of where things are going, even though Omicron seems to be maybe going to wipe out COVID properly.